You are welcome back to the Business Lens from Rapid Television, Abuja. My name is Divine Alex. Now, from rising aviation fuel prices squeezing airline operations to Nigeria's continued crude production shortfalls, and from the surge in ride-hailing strikes in Lagos to regulatory reforms in the upstream oil sector, today's headlines highlight real financial pressures and opportunities across the Nigerian economy. Each of those stories directly affects businesses. It affects commuters and everyday Nigerians, whether through fuel costs, power supply, investment flows, or service access. So today we are going to be unpacking what these numbers mean and why they matter and what stakeholders need to consider. And joining me on this conversation on the call is Daniel Effa, who is a global business analyst. You're welcome to the show, Daniel. Good morning. Now, I want us to start with the first story, which is the Central Bank of Nigeria that is not saying that they're going to definitely make it easy for accounts that were initially dormant, to take them away from the whole affidavit situation and all that. What do you think? Do you think this is a welcome development?
Okay, so a conversation around dormant accounts is something that I think we've always had different controversies about because it's for the banks. It's not what you want in terms of, for them. It's not they are not making money from those accounts, right? So however the CBN is looking at the conversation, it will definitely affect the kind of businesses the banks carry out. So if it requires a new model, I think that it's something that should be welcome. It's something that we should see how it plays out first. It is the customers that will determine whether the policy is effective or not, right? So on the long term scale of what the effect would be, I think it's something that we would have to basically observe, right? Even though account dormancy can be a function of so many factors, right? But then if it is basically out of maybe the person is diseased or something else, maybe sickness or something, I think there has to be actual care on how it can be done. Currently, it's a very stressful system. For example, for if the person is diseased and the family, the next of kin wants to come and claim whatever is there, it is a very stressful process, and I think that it shouldn't be that stressful if there is proper documentation on the part of the account holder, the part of the bank, and also the next of kin coming to claim whatever is left of such account. So it is something that the CBN, I'm happy the CBN is looking into it.
Okay.
Trying to make adjustments to make it easier for people to be able to claim. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what economic and financial barriers, right, would you say this pose to maybe business people?
Well, I think that the barriers is usually a function of because for me personally, I feel that in talking about ease of doing business, right, you shouldn't make simple processes complex, right? So if simple processes are complex, it becomes hard for businesses to actually move. For example, if two people are running a partnership, right, and one of them suddenly just something happens and person is.
Daniel, are you still with us? I think the whole, Nigerian network has happened. Okay, so
easier.
Daniel, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I think you were cut off for some seconds.
Oh, sorry about that. So I was basically saying that if there was, if example, if business is a partnership, for example, right, and a partner is dead, right, if with the very hard system we currently have, it is almost impossible for that business to access the funds in that partnership account, right? So with the old affidavit system that the CBN is applying, it's easier, for the person for businesses to actually continue, and that is the whole idea of creating a very easy system. It can have it defined rules, it can be properly regulated, but it also can also be easy, and that is basically why I'm happy with this whole affidavit structure. That it makes it easier for businesses to just claim those funds. If account has been dormant for so long, either because of inactivity, or the person is just maybe out of the country, for example, the person can still come back and be able to reactivate the account easily and continue using it.
Okay. Now, and as the CBN maintains safeguards to protect the integrity of the financial system, what specific checks do you think will remain to prevent fraud, while still making the process significantly easier, for genuine account holders?
I think a function of I think fraud really happens where there are no clear regulatory approach, right?
Okay.
So, for example, data protection is a thing, right? If it is impossible for me to have more than one BVN, if it is impossible for me to have more than one national ID card, right? If it is impossible to have all these documents required, if it's impossible for someone to access my account without me, then it's easier for you to prevent fraud, right? So, if someone is dead and there's enough proof to get that documentations to show, and bank can also do its own verification. Where's the fraud coming from? Those are the conversations that has always been affecting us, because we've had cases of even banks, right, accessing funds that are not meant to access, and customers basically are complaining what's happening, right? That it's just that their funds are missing, right? So the issue is beyond it's larger, in sense that we just need to get all these social security conversations, our national ID card, our BVN, get it to a point of almost it being impossible to be duplicated, and we'll be very good in terms of reducing. Of course, fraud can be reduced, fraud can be eliminated, but it can be reduced drastically.
Okay, so now let's take a swipe at Serap, right? Serap flagged that 5.9 billion naira was reportedly spent on the NNPC's rebranding to NNPCL. Now, this is not a small amount of money, right? We can agree that this is not a small amount of money. So now, from an economic perspective, how do such expenditures, by state-owned enterprises affect fiscal efficiency in the country and resources allocation in Nigeria?
This is not a news. This is not a new conversation. I think that
we've been having it.
Sarah, I think the NNPCL conversation happened 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, 2022. I think that's when NPCL moved. SNNPC moved to NNPCL, and I think the data coming out now in terms of now the probe is happening. I think it's just a Nigerian thing. I can't say Nigerian thing, but it is almost a public finance thing, that there is a lot of waste. There is a lot of waste. So we've seen we practically see details come out every year about the budgeting for chairs or for new cars or for computers. We run a very inefficient system, because efficiency has to do with the input you are putting into that system. Should almost give you a very considerable level of output at the same level, almost at the 60, 70, 80% level, right? So we spend so much on governance and we don't get the dividends at the same rate, right? So we have so many, in fact, we have so many people around governance that you begin to wonder, is the country more than what it is, right? So because so much of these monies go round, right? So what does it take to change NNPC to NNPCL? It's just a legal conversation. It's something that has to do with the CAC, because it became an holding company, right? And that is all. And the only thing that happened after was a redesign of an existing logo to a new logo. What else after that? They did a party. So if that already took over almost 6 billion naira, then you can imagine the kind of waste you can see. So you can't have the two happening at the same time. You cannot spend aimlessly and also be expecting to be very efficient. It's not possible. It's not possible. You cannot expect a parent or a father that spends on frivolities and also pay for his children. So it's not possible. One would definitely fall for the other, and that is basically what's happening in Nigeria. By the time you look at how much we waste on so many things, you realize that there is nowhere we would have enough for capital expenditure. We will not have enough, and
We
that
don't
is what
have
is happening.
enough. What is happening?
NNPC just reflects, NNPC just
Okay.
reflects what the Nigerian conversation is. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's take it to the aviation sector, right? Now, the aviation operators have come out to say that, oh, we don't think we are able to manage the situation any longer because as of 2 weeks ago, we have aviation fuel now costing at 1,000 naira before, but now it is now 1,200 naira, 1,800 naira, I beg your pardon, which is an 80%, almost 80% increase, which is crazy. Now, how do you think that airlines are definitely going to manage this cost spike, and what does it mean for ticket pricing and passenger travel behavior in the coming weeks, especially as the fact that we still have the U.S., Iran, and Israel war still there?
It's sad. Why it is sad is because we are not directly affected by whatever is happening on the Strait of Hormuz, except for the pricing of crude. We are not affected. We are not. It's not like our supply of petroleum products or crude comes from there, right? Our supply of gas and crude is here. Like, we have the resources, right? And there is an issue that is going to affect pricing of the product, which will eventually affect pricing of local products here, and will most likely create an inflationary issue, right? This is the same country that we are saying in recent times that we've made so much from our external reserves is at the highest, right?
In 13
And
years.
yes, so how is it that we're having such an issue that can drive oil prices to over $150 per barrel, or almost even 200 at this rate? That is going to cause chaos, right, to your local economy. And we're having nobody saying, or nobody say, hey, this is what we're going to be doing to ensure that Nigerians don't feel the brunt. So it's, and I think I've been echoing this since last week, right?
Yes,
so
we have.
It is a very sorry state. I'm just I think I pity the Nigerian people, not the businesses, right? Because the airlines will definitely inflate their prices. They are not in any charity game. Everybody wants to get, they want to run in losses, because if you run in losses, the businesses will shut down. Nobody's coming to help them. A lot of them are taking loans at very high interest rates, so they need to pay back, right? So they will surely pass these costs to the consumers who are just trying to survive already on a very high price levels you get in recent times. So I'm just surprised that the government is almost going to be allowing the 2024 issue happen again, because yes, it is not what happened in 2024 was a reform at a weak cost to give the government more revenue. Now government has more revenue in quotes, because then we've been celebrating so much on reserves. Now, what is the essence of a reserve or any monies you've made if it is not to benefit the people in times of need like this, right? So if the government, if they are listening, I think it is time they start speaking up. The CBN governor should not be mute at this time.
It should not be mute.
Minister of Finance should not be mute at this time. This is not the time to mute. It's time to actually act and actually insulate the Nigerian economy from the pressure, from this particular pressure that is coming up. We shouldn't be affected by what's happening with Strait of Hormuz. It is wrong that we are affected by it. It is extremely wrong.
Now, still on the whole transport issue, right? We have, cab riders in Lagos coming out to say that they're going to go on a 3-day strike because of operational costs, and then the fares are not increasing, and you cannot even blame them, because it's not even about taking the prices up. Most people don't even have the funds anymore to be able to afford those cabs, the rides, because just imagine that you are earning, let's say 200,000 or let's say 100,000 naira, for example, and then usually it costs you 2,000 naira to get to your location. As at now, because of the spike in the fuel prices, you can no longer afford to pay maybe 4,000 naira per one trip, which is now going to be crazy. And at the end of the day, you see people look for where it's going to benefit them, and then we have these cab drivers come out to complain that, oh, we are getting passengers, but we are not meeting up. Our expenses is too high, and there is no remedy. We're not finding it easy to, make these things work. Now, I want to ask, given that this operational cost for ride-hailing drivers, have increased significantly, how sustainable do you think, the current fare structure is going to be? And what solutions do you think is going to be best for both the drivers and the passengers?
I This is another issue of me just pitying the passengers. Because who will a strike of that nature affect? The passengers, definitely. So and they actually have a government that is extremely reactionary. Nobody's saying anything.
Okay.
I don't blame the cab drivers because the alien apps that they work for, they don't necessarily reflect price changes that fast. I remember when the subsidy was initially removed in 2023. That was how it also took them time before they could readjust the pricing. I don't blame them, but of course it is the cab drivers that will feel the brunt because it is so sharp that you are looking at over 1,000 naira. For example, in Lagos is basically over 1,000, like over 1,100. And I think I've been just for like a couple of days now, and I've been seeing like the pricing. They all want extra pricing. And I want told him categorically that if that he's not going to take the trip if I don't give him another extra 25% minimum. Yeah, because it wasn't a negotiation, it was just informing me, right? So I had to make a choice whether I was going to use use him or not, and basically this business, at the same time, you can't blame these guys. These are people that their apps, most of them already complain about how much charges, right? The apps already charge them, so everybody's trying to turn a profit, right? So we're not talking about the fact that, remember, whatever happens with petroleum prices is usually a ripple effect. So these same guys will suddenly now start servicing their car more expensive. They probably start buying parts again, because in Lagos roads are not as quality as probably maybe, for example, Abuja, right? So they spend more on maintaining their car. They spend more on buying new spare parts. They spend more on even their children's school fees, because then schools also will increase. So it is a generic. It's that is what energy does to your economy. It raises prices of everything automatically. So everybody's lives are suddenly be affected negatively by just these things, right? So some people come up and say, yes, it's affecting everybody globally, even in the US, even in the UK, but then everybody's they have different government that can solve their problems. That is, so if when the pandemic happened and the Russian crisis also happened in France, train workers shut down their entire system. They went on rampage on the streets for days. In the UK, same thing. Every populace would solve their problem with their government the way they feel they should solve it, and because it's important that the government should be responsible for them. So you cannot say because everybody suffers it, we also should suffer the same thing. We have a government that has made some very specific reforms, particularly fiscal ones, that has affected us in the energy sector, right? So now is that time. Nobody planned for this, but you should be proactive to saying that our people cannot suffer this kind of issue. Let us be there. So because everybody, if cab drivers are going on strike, who else would follow after that? Because and that is where the ripple effects will come in.
Okay, so now, do you think that this strike, is going to set a precedent for other gig economy workers across Nigeria? And then, what role do you think regulators should play in protecting workers and their earnings?
I think there's usually two ways. It's either you give them more money, right? Or you tackle whatever the pricing is. Because so either government is meant to will definitely spend, but how do you spend to ensure that everybody gets affected positively? So if you give people money, that means you are giving only civil servants. Civil servant represents less than 15% of the entire workforce, right? So but then the easiest way is actually to maintain a certain price, right? If you don't adjust, if you practically create a subsidy around the pricing, right? We now have Dangote supply, almost our entire local supplies is now being given by Dangote refinery. So it is possible to say from Dangote pump, this is what we are selling for this period for till this whole crisis is over, right? And the crisis is over, we go back to our previous price, which is what we've been buying 800, 850. In fact, at some point 900 and back to like 810. In fact, at some point we already 700 and something, right? So that is because oil prices will never, if there's no crisis, it will never do more than $70 per barrel, right? So that means that no matter what happens, 850 to 900 is that ideal price. So anything that goes beyond that, the government is meant to step in and say, okay, guys, we cannot. Same with aviation fuel, same with diesel, guys. We have to cap it here and pay this amount till everything is back to normal. That can
Now,
definitely affect the entire economy at once.
okay, so because this whole situation with the transport hike spike and then the fuel spike is not just in Lagos. So we have a vox pop that we got from the streets of Abuja here, trying to ascertain what people are actually feeling, what is actually going on with them and how they are actually reacting to the transportation cost here, because it's not only about the hailing apps. Many people have gone away from the hailing apps and then they decided to use the normal transport, and still there are issues there. So let's take a look at this.
So the fuel price is not easy in Nigeria. Like now, I enter filling station today, I bought fuel 140, 1,400 and something naira in filling station.
Things are becoming more expensive and transportation is becoming more expensive. And that's why I just adding money for transportation. And that is also affecting the cost of living. And then you can imagine just because of the war they are fighting in Iran. They are saying that that's why the fare is going up. What is our business with Iran fighting the war with US and Israel? Really, they are happy over there while we are here suffering.
Yesterday when I come out, my brother owned the same taxi. We drive the same taxi. So yesterday when we came out, he has to go back home because the fuel price, where they told him the fuel was 1,320 naira. I'm not really happy with the transport in Abuja and within all the cities in Nigeria because of the crisis in Middle East between Israel, America, and the tension in Iran. It has made the price of crude oil to skyrocket, therefore affecting the prices of transport movement in Abuja, especially in Abuja and the neighboring states. I cannot really cope because it's putting a hole in my pocket and is therefore increasing my cost of living.
I didn't see any difference. Someone that paying 1,000 naira, 800 naira is paying 1,000 naira. To me, I feel that it's not much different. But some other people that are suffering the increasement of the fuel. But to me, I'm okay with the price.
They told us about CNG. But for how many years now? The CNG is not working. The government have deceived us a lot. It's just left for the Nigerian masses to rise up and do something. Because as we are keeping quiet, the thing is still getting worse.
Because of the fuel that.
Okay, and it doesn't stop there. We also asked shoppers about the rising prices of everyday food items in the markets. And here's what Nigerians also had to say.
Like basket of tomatoes that we used to buy 3,000, 3,500, even sometimes 2,500. I wanted to buy it yesterday. They said that it's 6,500. I couldn't really afford it. I have to buy half basket. So that's the situation of Ghana, and every other thing too has shoot up since the increment of fuel prices.
Seriously, the price is so bad, and most people are complaining about the price in the market. Seriously, some get upset because what they are expecting last week, they did not expect it this week. So some need to get upset about it.
It's really unbearable because the nature of where we found ourselves today, what is happening, you just wake up in the morning and discover that the prices of things have changed just like that. It's really annoying. The price of food and other things has really increased. It has really increased based on the fuel prices the fuel increase, so it has really affected us in the market. It has affected us in so many ways.
Because the people that are bringing food from the remote area, they will find it so difficult to bring the food. If they manage to bring it, everything, the price will be high. And
Okay, that is the reaction that we got on the streets when we went to find out how people are actually coping with the changes in transportation costs, and as well as the market survey that we did to ascertain if the ripple effect has immediately affected food prices in the markets. Though we got mixed reactions, but a lot of people had lots of complaint to make as regards transportation cost spike and food prices changing very swiftly. Now let's head over to stock market updates. Local equities continued to show strength last week, with the NGX All Share Index lifting market capitalization to around 127.36 trillion naira as investors shared broad-based gains, helping the market build on its recent rally and reinforcing positive sentiments among local buyers. And on the market breadth and confidence signals, we have another report that shows the Nigerian equities market posting solid weekly growth, adding an estimated 924 billion naira in value as heavyweight stocks remained in demand, suggesting continued confidence in corporate earnings and market liquidity. While global market cues to watch says globally, Asian shares opened cautiously and oil prices remained elevated amid tensions in the Gulf region, with factors that are adding volatility to global capital markets and could influence investor behavior in emerging markets like Nigeria throughout the week. So, Daniel, what do you make of all this? How do you think this affects our economy and maybe the everyday Nigerians? Your last summation.
The market is still an option than the stock market. Like I usually say, you pick your focus. Are you focusing on long term or short term profit taking? So if you're looking at short term, look at stocks that have potentials of growing at 100% or more. Then so basically what you're looking for is shares below $50, 50 naira per share. Then you can basically look for your options there. So majorly the service based fast moving goods, they are the ones that usually would give you those returns. And if you're looking at value over time, then just stick with the banks. There may be some of the big oil stocks. But overall, I think that the market is healthy. More businesses coming in, and it keeps doing its thing. So it is a very good way to invest some money. And on a global scale, I think the risk in the Asian market is still there. Everybody's being cautious. Gold has been doing its thing, still over 5,000 per ounce, and crude. Of course, we know it will head towards. In fact, in the short term, it should get into at least around $20 per barrel this week or before the end of March. That's tested it already, and it will definitely still eat it again. So that is the pressures are still there, the risks are still there, and it is very important as an investor look at all those factors before making your investment decision. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel, for being on the show today. And that wraps up today's edition of Business Lens here on Rapid TV. From soaring markets to latest corporate and economic updates, we brought you the numbers that matter and the stories that impact your business and your wallet. I am Divine Alex. Thank you for joining us. Stay informed, stay ahead, and we'll see you next time right here on Business Lens on Rapid Television at 11 a.m. on Thursday. Bye for now.